Welcome to the July 14th meeting of the Town Council Charter Review Committee. In accordance with Massachusetts general laws, this meeting is being videotaped and audio recorded, as well as being remotely broadcasted via Zoom webinar. If there's anyone in our viewing audience who's taping this meeting, would you please announce yourself? Hearing and seeing none. Welcome, Tom.
Hi.
Hi. Our first order of business are the minutes of the July 7th, 2020 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review them?
Yes.
Yes.
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion made by Jeff and seconded by Marilyn. Any discussion? Favor? Bill Adams?
Yes.
Larry Levine, yes. William Fonseca?
Abstain.
That's correct. Jeff Bosworth?
Yes.
Marilyn Richards?
Yes.
Tom Christensen?
Yes.
And Marilyn, you are voting again this week.
I am.
Good. Okay. So last week we were in the midst of discussing.
Excuse me, point
I'm
of
sorry,
order. Do you know if anyone's taking notes, minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Miss Memory.
I volunteered last time. I'll do it.
Dr. Tom Christensen will be our secretary tonight.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. We were discussing, and we should announce also that Ralph Page and Andy Fraser are absent this evening as our members. We were discussing at last meeting under Article 2, Town Council. We were in the middle of section 3, the third paragraph. And the issue we were discussing with that, within that paragraph, was the power of the president to appoint all members of the committees of the council, whether special or standing. There was discussion regarding whether that should be unilaterally continued by the president or some other options. Let's go back to that and open the floor for comments, questions.
Well, I brought it up, Larry. My only thought was to add a second person, and I was thinking of the vice president, since the vice president's going to take over when the president's not available. And I just thought that there should be more than one eyes on those type of appointments, that there should be two. So that's why I brought it up.
Ms. Kathy, your comments?
I personally don't think it's necessary. We're a small council by most standards, just a 7-member. Most of us have to serve on multiple committees, and oftentimes the vice president ends up being on, because the chair is ex officio to all, the vice president ends up being on the same committees that the president ends up on. Not all of them, clearly, but some of them. And we're set. We're really, you're appointing 6 people if the chair is ex officio. And I say I don't think it's necessary respectfully, but you know, it's up to this committee to decide that. We haven't had an issue with it for the 4 years. We're starting year 5 tonight after we reorganized, and we've not had an issue thus far. That's not to say we can't have an issue going forward, but on these various committees, they're all limited to 2 or maybe 3 counselors. So it's, I think it's manageable with just one individual. we've been fortunate that the council, and it's, with elections each year and resignations and such, we have still ended up with 7 very devoted individuals who conduct themselves professionally. And I know what, Phil, what you're saying, that you want to avoid an individual stacking, quote unquote, a subcommittee, but given the track record thus far, I just don't feel as though it's necessary to do that. But that's my personal opinion.
Just for clarification, Kathy, does the president also submit or appoint the subcommittees as well, like people like ourselves that are on this committee? Is that done by you?
Yes.
Or
As far as appointments go, the council chair only appoints subcommittees. And standing committees. The standing committees are our finance committee and our planning matters committee. And the others are ad hoc. They serve for a specific amount of time for a specific purpose. The one we're all involved in now. Those appointments they should occur in August or September, as soon as the new fiscal year and the reorganization starts. To be fair, this was the only committee that was appointed during this year, other than what was appointed last August, or actually it was September. And the process that I've used is I've said to the counselors, these are the various subcommittees. This is what the subcommittee is charged with. Let me know within a few days' time which committees you'd be interested in serving on. And once you have that in front of you, it's pretty easy to, or it has been, to slot it out, everyone. And I was never in the last 2 years in a position where, 5 people wanted to be on finance and only 3 can be on it, or 2 can be on it. So I just feel like the process is manageable the way it is, particularly if you ask folks what they're interested in. And it's amazing that given the 7 people who are sitting right now, all of our interests kind of spread out so that there is not the situation where 4 or 5 are clamoring for 2 spots. So I'm just telling you how it's been and how I feel about it.
Two things. I'm sorry, Marilyn, go ahead.
I just wanted to add that the Planning Matters Subcommittee is one of those committees, as a standing committee, that has been, I guess, fortunate or unfortunate to be hampered by elections, because originally both Ralph and I were on the committee along with as members at large. Then Ralph got elected to, and so we couldn't, and they wanted him to stay on the subcommittee. So then we had to cycle off one of the counselors on that committee so that we wouldn't have any more than 3 counselors. Then I got elected, and so it needed to be rearranged again to be able to have no more than 3 counselors. So there's been movement within the committees after they're established.
And actually, there'll be movement after this evening when the council reorganizes. I won't be the ex officio for all 5 or 6 committees. And so the new president will become that. And if he or she is already on a committee, then the new president has to fill a vacancy. So there's natural movement, as Marilyn is alluding to, because of elections, of reorganization and annual elections.
I had 2 comments. Kathy, even though you appoint, or the president appoints committee members, their decisions are merely recommendations to the full town council.
Absolutely, absolutely. They have no standalone voting power.
Okay, so they can't commit the town to any It would be the town council that have to vote on that.
Right. When they meet and when they have a finished product, whatever that may be, that they come before on an agenda and give their report, and all 7 councilors vote on it. So there's oversight there, and to me, that's the biggest check and balance.
Hey, Phil, I share a concern, not the present town council, but what we've seen in the past. But if you had someone like the president joined by the vice president, what if they couldn't agree?
I think that's where the full council comes in.
Oh.
And the other thing is when the president makes the committees, does the president report to the council on the breakdown of the committees?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So the full council
Oh, yes.
is aware of who's on the committees?
Yep, they all get I give that to our clerk, Jeannie, and she forwards that in the next agenda's backup packet of information.
Yeah. The only reason I bring it up is I'm looking 10 years down the road. And I'm saying this process is going to happen and we're going to have to wait 10 more years before and like you, Larry, I'm looking at it in the past, what happened and where will we be? So
Well,
that's the only reason I bring it up.
Right. Let's if it were to happen something like that, there could be an amendment initiated to the charter by the town council itself. And even the charter review committee is only a recommendation. So it could be initiated amendment to the charter by citizens.
I was just going to mention that there is a mechanism for that to happen. So there is a system of checks and balances in place.
Mhm.
I understand everybody's concern, and I share the same thing, but just from the 50-yard line, my view is it's working pretty good now, but I understand everybody looking down the road because it's only going to be as good as the people that are on the committees, like with everything.
Bill, if I can, Larry, how does it work on the school committee when you have to create a liaison for Willie Ross or the collaborative and such?
When we reorganize, we do basically the same thing that the council does. Everybody gets a copy of what everybody's present position is. Then the discussion goes to, does anybody want to change? And if nobody wants to change, like this year with Rich leaving, we had openings. So we all picked and choose what we wanted. Others gave something up, and it just works in tandem. So it works fairly smooth because 99% of the time, like I didn't give anything up and I picked one up, but that was my intent. And that's usually the way it works.
But that was, Bill, if I understand it correctly, that was done as a group, not as the president. The president or the chairman doesn't say, you have this, this, and this. It's the group.
When there's a special, like if something comes up where, you know, it could be a request from the town council president for a member of the school committee to be designated for whatever committee. At that point, the chair would ask, we would have a discussion and the chair would ask for nominations for that person. Or I could step up and say, okay, I'm willing to do it if nobody else wants it, but it goes through a formal nominating process so that it's captured in the minutes as that. So if somebody questions it, it was clearly a committee decision and not just an individual,
Yeah.
if that helps.
Yep.
All right, Phil, what's your pleasure?
Well, I just bring it up for discussion. I mean, I'm not hell bent on it's got to be that way. I just brought it up for discussion because of past incidents and looking at this as a 10-year document and saying this is an opportunity. I mean, I'm not taking into consideration the actual person that's in it. I'm taking a look at the position itself.
Correct.
So that's the reason I brought it up for discussion. I mean, if the rest of the group feels comfortable with it, then I'm fine. I'm not looking to, create an issue.
I would suspect, if I can jump in, that if came about that a committee was stacked or was not behaving in the most judicious manner, that would get the remainder of the body's attention. And I'm certain that it would become an item of discussion.
You don't think that the president needs any assistance from any member of the council when you make those, or when the president makes those
Well,
decisions?
I feel that that for these past 2 years, I've been able to accomplish that by asking folks, you know, we're kind of like what Bill was saying, but it's not done, you know, in the body of a meeting. To say, you know, there's finance, planning, licensing subcommittee, managers evaluation committee. I'm missing two, but you know what I'm saying. The
Yep.
bylaw committee, and where do you want to be? You know, what's your preference? Give me your first two choices, and then maybe an alternate choice.
Unless we hear a motion, we'll move on. Hearing and seeing none. Our next paragraph reads, the town clerk shall be the clerk of the council. The town clerk shall give notice of all council meetings to its members and to the public, maintain minutes and supporting documentation of all council proceedings, and perform such other duties as may be assigned by this charter, bylaw, or other rules of the council. Any comments, questions?
I have one, Larry.
Yes, ma'am.
First of
Marilyn?
all, I've learned quickly how valuable this position is for the council. As our clerk, does not maintain the minutes as such. The assistant town clerk is the one who generally sits at the meeting. Now, I don't know if that's an issue. Maybe Kathy can weigh in on this. That was a change after the charter went into effect, and the reality was that the clerk was too busy in the council meeting to be able to be dealing with the transcription of the minutes as well. So I don't know, maintaining minutes, is that a global term, or should we say maintains or delegates the function?
Well, I think if I could, I'm sorry, I should be going
No,
through the
that's
chair.
okay.
If I jump in and say, maintain in this case is she is the official holder of the minutes. She doesn't always mean that she's doing the transcription.
All right, okay.
And
Because
Bill,
if anyone were to, you know, call the town hall and question a particular issue in a particular minutes, it would be Jeannie who is
True.
responsible for seeing that through.
Bill, I think that was our original
you.
intent.
Jeannie's sending a message through the chat that says, can we table this discussion until I'm back live?
He's
And
working.
what I think is happening is what I said before. We're just about an hour away from council meeting, and her Mac is rebooting and she's cut off. So if you can push, you know, jump over to something else in the meantime.
I'm
Mine's
not following.
Jeannie can't participate in the conversation right now because she's doing something for the council meeting at 6, and she would like to be a live participant. She's hoping to be back in a few minutes.
Okay. So
We lost,
I don't see it.
we lost Jeannie, we got two Toms.
Yeah, there's two times out there.
You're gonna lose me.
I don't know.
Phil, you can sing for us, Phil.
Reboot thing too.
Yeah. I don't see a danger in tabling this until Jeannie can, because I think we should get Jeannie's viewpoint on this.
I agree.
Yes.
But just to throw a comment in, it does say maintain, it doesn't say transcribe.
Right.
Okay, well, that's fine. I didn't know what the intent was when the council, when the Charter Commission created this. And that was a change after we started. So just wanted to make sure that if we needed to tweak it, now's the time.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next paragraph. Vacancies which occur in the offices of president or vice president shall be filled at the next regular council meeting following the vacancy. All appointments to fill vacancies shall be for the remainder of the original one-year term of office. Comments, questions? Seeing none, we'll move on. Section 4 is council procedures. The first paragraph. Regular meetings of the council shall be held at a time and place fixed by bylaw. The council shall meet regularly, at least once in each month. Questions, comments? Seeing or hearing none, we'll move on. Next paragraph reads, special meetings may be held at any time if called by the president or by 3 members of the council, provided that at least 48 hours personal notice, which contain a list of the item or items to be acted upon, shall be given to each council member, except in case of emergency as defined by the open meeting law of the Commonwealth. Further, all council meetings, including any subcommittee thereof, shall be conducted in accordance with such law. Questions, comments? Bill, do you recall why we had personal notice given to each council member?
There was extensive discussion on that because I thought it centered around what if somebody's out of town and doesn't know about it?
Okay.
I think that's where it, we did beat this around quite a bit. And I seem to recall that Ralph may have said something along those lines, that if somebody's not in town, how would they know about it? Somebody
Kathy,
said it.
I'm sorry. Kathy, as a practical matter, how does each council member get notice of the meeting?
Oh, we all have a town email address. And anytime there is a meeting, Jeannie sends the agenda to us. For instance, we're meeting at 6 tonight. So on the Friday before, we get an agenda and all of the backup information. Because we're in a remote capacity, all of that is just sent to us electronically. And we're responsible for making our own copies or, you know, referring to it online if necessary. It's an expectation, I would guess, to assume that every counselor checks their email frequently. And I'll give you an example of a special meeting. As it relates to the passage of our proposed budget, the manager's proposed budget this evening, it's out of necessity, we need to have a second meeting close to this one to finish up the work, because we know that we won't get it finished tonight. So as chair, I authorized a special council meeting for next Tuesday to continue our work, but I noticed everyone through email explaining why it was necessary. You know, in a Zoom environment, as Bill was saying, what if somebody didn't realize there was a meeting and they can't make it? But we, as a council, had a conversation a few meetings ago about, since we're in a Zoom environment and we're kind of restricted to where we can travel anyway, you're still connected because it's just a matter of being within an internet environment to connect to meetings. So right now, and in this world of technology, it might not be as big an issue as it could have been 5 years ago even.
And all council members have access to email, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And that's always been the case from day one.
Since the inception of the charter. And we all use it pretty frequently. Oh, now we have 2 Jeannies.
Okay.
Kathy, you don't produce meetings, a set meeting schedule, just so you lock in dates, do you? Like we do, as part of the calendar development is also our school committee calendar, ultimately identifying the dates that we have set aside. But we also have the ability as you would describe, to call special meetings.
Right, yes, we do, yes and yes. Jeannie
Okay.
or Jackie published that in early June, our schedule of meetings from July to next.
Yeah,
Sim-
that's what I'm
Just like what
referring
Kathy
to.
Saletti did a week ago.
All right.
Right.
Any other comments on that section?
Nope.
Okay. So Jeannie, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, so we skipped a section which is relevant to you.
Right.
It's the paragraph that the town clerk shall be the clerk of the council.
Mhm.
And I already read it, but
Right. And I'm a little bit distracted, but I know the maintain of the minutes,
Yep,
something, I agree. It's maintaining, which means I record them, not transcribe, but record them, store them, archive them. So I'm the record keeper of the minutes. I wanted to add something actually, and I don't know how Kathy, Marilyn feels about that, but there's a lot to this role, and I'm wondering if the last line should say, perform such other duties as may be assigned by this charter, comma, bylaw, comma, other rules of the council, comma, or any other council business deemed appropriate by something, because I think Marilyn and Kathy will agree that I do a lot of support besides just specifically what's here, or the position, not me, the position does. So I don't know how you feel about that. If it's
I would
necessary
agree.
or not.
Jeannie, she's correct. There's a whole lot that goes on behind the scenes and from Tuesday to Tuesday when we have our meetings. So a lot of support for all of the council members and the various tasks that may be required for each of the various subcommittee meetings.
Isn't that already covered?
We're about
Yeah.
midway through a 3-year overhaul of our town's bylaws, and it's a massive endeavor. Fortunately, we have hired the service party whose business it is to codify and update bylaws. But Jeannie is absolutely instrumental in that, and I can't underscore how much time in this last fiscal year that was devoted to getting the bylaws put together in a format, reviewed, and sent to this company who takes over and finesses everything and puts it in a digital format. And so there's a lot expected of the clerk, including the election process. There's 4 elections, 2 coming up, right on one on the heels of the other. And now with the need for mail-in voting, the workload is getting, I don't want to say burdensome, but it's significant. It'll be burdensome if we don't have enough support in the office to get it done.
Yeah, and I'm just, as far as the clerk of the council goes, because we maintain all the records supporting documentation, going to department heads, we're sort of like the librarian of the council. So, Kathy and other members, might come to me and ask, well, like the executive session minutes, Kathy, things like that, or when was the motion in 2016 for this? So it's a wide variety of duties. And that's in support of the council. So it's all underneath that umbrella. So I don't know how you would word that. It's not just what's outlined by the charter or bylaw or the rules of the council.
so what exact wording are you suggesting?
Well, I was going to say, okay, so perform such other duties as may be assigned by this charter, comma, bylaw, comma, other rules of the council, comma, the other support deemed appropriate for the responsibilities of the role. I don't know. I haven't hammered it out yet. If you want, I can try to, or if we want to try to do it right now, brainstorming, but
I would just be careful here because it's been a concern of mine in this past year that there it is or was an assumption that Jeannie would be the recording secretary for all of the subcommittees. And it's impossible. That it's not fair. The subcommittees are an offshoot of the council, and our council rules say that subcommittees need to organize and elect a chair and recording clerk. And I've kind of held the line on this with the subcommittees to say, do what this committee's doing. You're sharing the minutes. Just everybody, when it's your turn, you take them and we'll give you the format and you'll be responsible for them. The clerk or the assistant to the clerk have more on their plate than can be done in an 8-hour day. And they can't become the recording secretaries, nor should they, for any subcommittee. So I would that be too broad there because
Right.
you'll fall in that trap.
right. Okay.
Or
Right, so-
or say what I said, they are not considered recording secretaries for any subcommittee.
Okay. Jeannie, can we burden you for the next meeting to come back with some suggested wording?
That's no burden at all.
Okay,
I'll be
Thank
happy
you.
to do that. Yep.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next paragraph, all meetings of the council and any subcommittees thereof shall be open to the public. Residents shall have a reasonable opportunity to speak at any such meeting, except as otherwise provided by the laws of the Commonwealth regarding executive session. Non-resident employees and other interested parties may be allowed to speak at the discretion of the council. Any rules and regulations that are adopted by the council may include time limitations on public comments. Questions, comments?
And
I
right
have
now,
one.
the time limitation right now in our rules says 3 minutes.
3
And
minutes.
per statement, but
Uh-huh.
it's at the chair's discretion. Now, there's been times when we've had, and we had known this was going to occur, like multiple people who wanted to speak. So I have said at the top of the meeting, we will accommodate every speaker, but try not to be redundant of a previous speaker. And I may have to limit you to 2 minutes or 1 minute, depending on how many. And it's always worked out. And frankly, if someone is really impassioned about something that's serious, I can't think of any time in the 4 years where we've had to say to someone, you're going on and on and on. It's time to stop. We've allowed it out of respect.
The wording that says at the discretion of the council, whose discretion? Is that the entire council or the president normally makes that decision?
We have been operating at the discretion of the sitting chair because you're doing it in live time.
Okay. So those would be applicable to if a non-resident employee or other interested party wanted to speak.
What I have done in my experiences, and there's been a couple of times where there have been speakers who had important information for who were not residents of the town. I've tried to say all residents can have their say first, and then we'll entertain non-residents. But we've never disincluded anyone from speaking. And every speaker has to state their name and address for the record.
Yes, Jeannie.
The council rules, the exact wording is time comment will be limited to 3 minutes for each individual speaking unless waived by presiding officer. That's in the council rules. Unless waived by the presiding officer.
Okay. And you use presiding officer, that term, in case the president is absent.
Correct.
Any other comments on that paragraph? Okay, none. Let's move on. A majority of the full council shall constitute a quorum for the purpose of conducting business. The council shall from time to time establish written rules for its proceedings. So here's back to that term full council.
Right.
And I don't know if we had a agreed upon meaning of what full council meant pursuant to the definitions.
No, we haven't.
I think we were gonna keep an eye on
We're gonna
it.
come back.
We
And
kept,
so when you're conducting your meetings, Kathy, and the quorum, do you envision that quorum to be minimum of 4 attendees?
Yes.
Okay,
If one of the 7 were to be absent, then it can't be 3 because that's only 50%. So it still is 4. Now, if 2, we've been at some meetings where 2 people were absent. So a quorum for 5 would be 3.
and if you had a vacancy on the council and you only had 6 members,
We would use the 6 to determine 50% plus 1.
okay,
That would still be 4.
okay. Yes, Miss Marilyn?
Playing the devil's advocate, okay. For some reason, the Charter Commission put in this statement about the majority of a full council shall constitute a quorum. But when you have 5 members, you're not, the full council isn't present. But in this situation, because we're dealing with majority here, would there still be a majority of 4 out of 5? Because from the full council, when everyone's present, a majority is 4.
Right.
So I don't know if that's what was the reason why it was put here. Because we ran into this in other subcommittees, because in that case, 3 people would be making perhaps some very substantial or significant decisions for the town versus at least 4. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it out for discussion, and I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other.
What we've done as a matter of practicality is there have been a couple of meetings, to Marilyn's point, where there's been 2 people absent. And it was a pretty significantly important topic. And we've conducted discussion, but tabled it till we had everybody in the room to vote.
Hey,
I mean, that's
Bill?
just common sense, but that doesn't mean that, it doesn't prevent it from happening.
Bill, what's your memory on this issue?
My memory was that we couldn't agree on what the word majority meant, what the number was. Was it 5? Was it 6? Was it 4? So we settled on, for quorum purposes, a majority. Because the other side was, well, what if the council through charter, grows by, at some point. So we kind of left it open-ended for a reason. And a lot of it was, we didn't know what the council would feel, any given council would feel a bona fide number would be. We kicked it all around.
So are you saying that you left it open-ended in case the town in its wisdom increased our council from 7 members to 9 members?
That was one of the discussions that happened,
Okay.
yes. As the town grows, you never know what's going to happen.
Well, that's very true.
But we laid the base, so you're not tied into numbers where it says a majority. So you're kind of playing devil's advocate, and you're also leaving it open to what the council feels would be a majority at any given year or any given situation, if that makes sense.
The only wrinkle in the definition was the notwithstanding phrase at the end, where it says notwithstanding a vacancy that exists. So the way I would suggest reading that is that regardless of the vacancy, you still have, based on 7, and a majority of that would be 4 always.
Yeah, it can't drop below 4 on any
Right,
given,
for a quorum.
for a quorum.
Now, Bill just said you can't drop below 4. If members present and you're voting on just normal business,
Yes.
is it a majority of 4 required for that action? Because the full council is 7, or can it be 3-2? That's what I was trying to kick out, kick up before.
Well, I'm not a lawyer, but the question is quorum different than the number of votes required on a motion? So if you have a quorum, you have to have at least 4 people, and so only 5 showed up. Would you still need 4 votes to approve a motion, or with 3 because it's a majority?
Unless it's specified that you would need, I'm gonna muddy the waters, a supermajority. A 3-2 vote would carry under normal business.
Right, but
I've
not
seen it happen.
Not, right.
a supermajority of 5 members of a 7-member council would have to vote unanimously. You would have
It goes back to the original number. It doesn't have anything to do with
Okay, so
the number present.
now we go back to the definition of majority vote.
Correct.
Where's majority vote connection with a meeting of multiple member board, a body, shall mean a majority of those present and voting,
But for some reason,
unless another provision is made by charter, bylaw, or by its own rules. So if you have a quorum 4 and you only had 5 people present, then the way this reads, you would only need 3 to pass a normal motion.
Correct.
unless the other provision,
Unless what?
and it says, unless another provision is made by the
Right,
charter.
right. And there may be other, I think there are provisions here for supermajority vote,
There
et
are.
cetera. But Kathy, have you ever had that situation where you had 5 members there, so you had a quorum, but you only had a simple motion? How many people would you think was needed for approval of that motion?
Unless it was something significant where we would agree to postpone it, we would consider passage at 3 members.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So now going to the wording of that particular paragraph. Does anyone have any problems with that wording? You have to have at least 4 members present to have a quorum. Yes, Tom?
I guess it's always going to depend on what we land on for a full council definition, right?
Right.
Well, that's what it circles back
All right.
to that.
So we can go back to the definition when we're all done.
Yeah, I mean, it could, whatever we decide for this particular paragraph could change when.
Right. Okay. All right. And I think, Kathy, the last time we had asked you, you're waiting on some input from council, SEL, on what
Yes.
actions can be put under your rules as opposed to amending the charter.
Say that last part again.
You're asking for an
I'm asking,
opinion.
yes. Through our manager, I've asked if she would ask our council to review all of the council rules to make sure that they are in concert with the charter.
Excellent, okay.
I believe I'm sure he will do that, but it may make sense to have him wait on that
Mhm.
until this committee has done the chunk of its work.
Okay,
Because you may alter a particular section that would change how he would look at a particular rule in the council rules.
Okay.
And the other thing I would suggest that this committee do is ask our town manager for her input on, suggested considerations in the charter.
Will do, yes, of course. I think we spoke to that issue a few meetings ago. Yes, as well as other departments.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so if I don't see any other comments on that section,
I have one.
keeping in mind the full council definition. Yes, Jeannie?
What does that second sentence even mean? The council shall from time to time establish written rules for its proceedings. What does that mean?
I think that you have made rules
Council
concerning
rule?
your, like the term of office of the president.
Mhm.
And so the charter was giving permission to the council to make its own rules and regs. The gray area is when under their own rules, they make a decision that one could say is so important, it should be an amendment to the charter
Okay.
rather than an internal rule.
Okay.
Almost like an executive order. Can a president of the United States issue executive orders on issues that might require either statutory correction or some other constitutional change?
Okay, because to me, the rules have been established, the council rules, so they just be amended, right?
Say that again?
To me, the council rules have already been established. It's like from time to time establish written rules for its proceedings. I just think it's really vague. I don't know
Right.
those things.
Right.
As a practice, we have annually looked, as a council, looked at our rules, and every year since the inception of the rules, we've made some tweaks to them and modified them based on what, the business during the previous year, and where we may say, that we need to clarify better what this particular language is. But it hasn't been significant. I don't want to say there's no substance to it, but they've been pretty much edits and tweaking of the rules.
Almost every year, November 2017, November 2018, December 2019. So it's almost been annually.
That's kind of a matter of our business in the fall
Right.
to pause
Okay.
and do that.
Do we want to maybe add after proceedings or modify existing rules?
I don't know that you have to put that in, Jeff. I think the wording covers if you want. They can do whatever they want with their own rules of proceedings, whether it's amending, modifying, deleting. The wording, I think, allows that.
Okay.
The only question is, when can you make rules of your own body and when can you not, and it has to be amended to the charter, or whether it's allowed within the charter, what type of rules you're making. What if they made a rule within their proceedings that they rotate the presidency each month? Would that require charter amendment as opposed to internal?
I don't think so, because it's not that particular thing wasn't addressed in the charter. So they're not in violation of the charter.
Right.
When we wrote the charter, we gave the council latitude to establish their own rules.
Correct.
In concert with the charter.
Right.
So that's why this statement is there. So if they want to tweak their rules every year, that's fine.
Yep.
As long as they stay within the charter.
Right. Okay, God bless. All right, seeing no other comments, the next paragraph and we have less than 10 minutes. A full, accurate, up-to-date account of the proceedings of the council shall be maintained by the town clerk, which shall include a record of each vote taken and which shall be made available with reasonable promptness following each meeting, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting, provided, however, that unless otherwise provided by law, the minutes of an executive session shall be made available as soon as publication of the minutes would not defeat the purpose of the executive session. Questions, comments? Hey,
Well, those
yeah.
are the minutes, the record of each vote taken. That's what they're talking about, I'm guessing. Made available with reasonable promptness following each meeting, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting. Well, that doesn't happen sometimes.
Yep.
So there's something, well, is that violating the charter?
Yes, you
So I don't
would.
even know if that should be in. So what happens then? So I don't even know if that phrase should be in there, but not later than the next regularly scheduled meeting. For instance, Jackie had
Yes.
problems with her laptop, so she wasn't able to do the minutes, or if somebody's sick or something, I mean.
Yep.
It happens every year, but as Jeannie said, it's infrequent, but it will happen.
Yeah, yes, Miss Marilyn.
Is it the minutes or is it the information that's important to get out as soon as possible? And the reason why I say that is we have been the recipient of a marked up agenda following the meeting, which has all the votes, the actions, written in red next to the agenda item. So if I'm having a discussion with a constituent and I know there was an item on the agenda that they wanted to know about, it would be very easy to look at the marked up agenda and say, we voted unanimously to support that particular provision, that sort of thing. So
That
that the
could be interpreted that
information
way.
is there. It's
That's
not,
the perfect day. Yeah,
so
that's a good point, Marilyn.
I think this was put in to prevent what happened in the past, where minutes were glossed over constantly and information was not getting out because the minutes weren't approved. You recall that, Larry?
Yes, Marilyn, the selectmen, we used to have delays.
Yep.
It was never ready. And I don't know that we had a requirement for us to do that,
Right.
but
You're right.
we had delays. And I presume that there are issues preventing it being done in a timely manner. But if you make the requirement next regularly scheduled meeting, Jeannie, you wouldn't know if that's in the open meeting law, would you?
I can look up quickly. I think it's,
Well,
I
why
don't
don't we,
know.
There's something about 30 days in the open meeting law.
Yeah, I recall 30
why
days.
why don't I double check that issue
okay.
by our next meeting?
I can tell you the open meeting law states that the minutes should be published within 30 days of the actual meeting date.
There you go.
Jeff, you know that for sure,
All that for sure, 100%.
30 days. And so that would be your next meeting, because your meetings are normally, are they 30 days apart?
2 weeks normally.
Oh, all right. So then going by the open meeting law, 30 days would give you more time.
Right.
Okay. All right, people, what's your feeling? Or do you want to sleep on this over the next week? Because we have 3 minutes, we have to conclude.
I would say we, so we don't rush into this.
Say it again, Bill?
I think we should just kind of sleep on this for another week and then
Okay.
pick up the discussion here. This one is important because
Okay,
it's about disseminating information.
so everyone have a nice sleep on it, okay?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And with that, it's time to probably adjourn because our town council has to move on.
For the next meeting date,
A week from today,
we've got a
April
council.
April. July, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It'll be the 21st, but we'll have the same situation we have tonight. that
Is
the
that
council is meeting at 6.
There's
Okay, is
also,
that,
there's
yes,
also a
ma'am.
planning board meeting.
what's that?
There's a
that's great.
planning board meeting that day too.
Yes, you're right.
6.
No,
At
not
what
planning.
time?
Well, no, that's not an issue for this committee, but the assessors are meeting at 4:30
Oh,
on the 20th.
on the 21st?
Yes.
Okay.
So, so Ryan, are you awake? So it would be inappropriate to schedule us for 4:30 next Tuesday.
If you need to, I could. I can pull it off.
Here you.
People, Miss Marilyn, what's your
That's
thought?
perfect. That's perfect.
All right, Ryan, I hate to burden you, but we're gonna burden you. If no one has any strong objection. August, come on, Larry. July 21st, 4:30 to 5:30. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, all those in favor, the ayes have it. Thank you, everyone. Pleasant evening. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys later.
Take care. Thank you, Tom.